So what I want to discuss today in this video is the abstraction of the teacher-learner-teacher system within the conscious learning of a human being. And I think it's something that we often forget, or rather the ego tries to distort how truly progressive this teacher-learner mirroring is in our life and the value of it. So that's why I wanted to make a video specifically about this. Now, any of you viewers that have read and studied the Course in Miracles, there's a lot of this discussion of this mirroring and the concept of, both our own consciousness and the consciousness of all others being both a teacher and a learner in any given moment. And once we adopt this ideology, it truly makes us so much more unconditionally loving to our fellow human beings, to other creatures on the planet, once we understand how absolutely true this mechanism is. So I want to take a moment to just describe it, break it down for you, so you can understand what I'm talking about. So in any given moment, at all times, we are ourselves always learning and always teaching. So in the aspect of the fact that we are always learning, this is pretty intuitive. Every single circumstance, event, interaction provides and yields a catalyst for our own learning. So our learning about both the nature of ourselves and the nature of existence and what it is to be, what it is to know, what it is to gain wisdom and experience. So we are always learning constantly through all of our interactions. And we also learn through the silence, through the quiet introspection, when we go within, when we synthesize and process all of the myriad of information that is streaming into our consciousness, continually. But what is not as, predominantly evident and is not always taken into account is the fact that we are always also teaching. So the fact of the matter is that we are always becoming or acting as a teacher for others. And it is this two-way resonance, this continual cycling of these energetic experiences that causes us to ascend in terms of our knowledge and our wisdom, and to by virtue of that, help others ascend. Now, there are certainly times experientially when you look at the life cycle of any organic life, when individuals or an individual soul will seem to, in a sense, descend in terms of their growth, in terms of their understanding. We can see this when, people, will take on a persona, or will become extremely greedy or addicted to drugs, or, trail off on any of these lower vibrational expressions of an individual. But even those lower vibrational expressions yield learning. They yield learning for the individual because they become a catalyst through that lens of deep suffering, deep chaos, for that individual to learn what is not in alignment with divine mind. And they also become a mirror. So they are also a teacher, even in this low vibrational level, for others that may not take that path, but can view it or can learn via the experience of the other. So this is where this mirroring, teaching, learning, teaching is continually happening. And once we start to recognize all of the catalyst that is available to us here on planet Earth, we start to really appreciate and form a deep level of gratitude for the complexity, the immense growth that happens in each and every lifetime, and the true depth of the experience that we are going through in this lifetime. We also start to really absorb that we are going through in this lifetime. We also start to really absorb and integrate a deep appreciation for each and every life form, each and every being. And this really circles back to complete compassion for all others, because when you realize that even in their worst state, they're providing a lot of context, a lot of catalyst, and that becomes that state of absolute compassion for the other. I know I was kind of doing a deep dive over the weekend and watching a lot of documentaries on the opioid crisis and fentanyl, and those drugs that are even a step above fentanyl, and looking at the deep trauma and degradation of the human body, the temple that the soul exists in, and what these people that are living on the streets are going through. But through their experience, I also realized that this deep suffering also offers a lot of learning in terms of how low a consciousness can descend into this really dark place when it is essentially chasing something that is that immediate gratification or that pleasure, that knee-jerk reaction that the lab rat, so to speak, will have, because it's pushing that liver for, or smoking that pipe for the next that next hit of pleasure. And that in and of itself provides a lot of understanding, from that standpoint of looking at it from a wiser, higher perspective. Not that we would ever want to condone that behavior, not that we would ever wish that upon anybody, but we can have compassion for it, and we can learn from it, and hopefully make good decisions in our own lives and help those around us, help to guide those around us to make good decisions as well. And so when we settle into this vantage point within our consciousness, it is a really high tier of understanding, of wisdom, of knowledge, that everything is always teaching and everything is always learning. And when we can notice this in each and every second of our existence, second of our lives, we can become extremely merciful, extremely compassionate, and extremely unconditionally loving. We can also hold within our being a lot of grace for all others. And we can have an attitude of non-judgment, this attitude of letting the other experience what the other is meant for them, for their own soul's essence to experience. Not that we want to experience it from our own vantage point, but we can see it for what it is. We can see it as their path, their choice. We can hold compassion, we can hold guidance and inspiration, but we can settle into a place of non-judgment. And this is absolutely the highest perspective that the consciousness can reach in terms of the external reality, kind of commingling with that internal conscious reality. And it provides a lot of inner peace as well. And as we move along our spiritual path, it's not, in my consciousness, it's not so much about following the correct religion or worshiping the correct God per se. It's about understanding and linking our own conscious understanding of all that is, of the totality of existence, with that highest vantage point, with the highest point of compassion, mercy, and unconditional love. So I'm not going to make this a really long video, but if you can integrate this perspective of understanding that you are the teacher, you are the guide, you are also the student, you are also in this life to learn and absorb and experience as much as you possibly can, then you can move from a point of perspective of judgment, hatred, condemnation, anger, violence over to the other side of the spectrum, where you can impart wisdom, compassion, mercy, and grace into your daily practice of that peaceful, loving energy. Okay, I want to give you so much happy vibes for the rest of your week, and I will hopefully see you in the next video.